Hello everybody, it's Holger Mueller here from Constellation Research, welcoming my fabulous colleague Liz Miller to episode 66. Hey Liz, how are you doing?
I'm good. I should do it this way. This looks better. Yeah, there we go.
Look, I figured it out. You do 6, I do 6, right? 66 guys,
66. Right? They have let us do this 66 times. Well, us 33 times, right? So we've done it 33 times. Our colleagues in crime, the far more serious newsworthy duo of Doug Henschen and Diane Hinchcliffe. But yeah, together we make a whole episode. The good reason why we can keep doing this is because tech news keeps happening. And here's what is going on right now. Holger. What have you been doing these last couple of weeks since I got to see you?
Well, the big thing this week was obviously Oracle's CloudWorld conference over in Las Vegas. Back to reasonable sizes. Last year, because of COVID, was under 10,000. Now it was close to 20,000. Really innovative from the size that every part of the stack is getting infused with AI. Very interesting approach for both their databases, the Oracle database and HeatWave, right? Their new database, which is one of the most interesting cloud databases with the fastest innovation record, beating all the dedicated vendors in terms of capabilities. But the key thing is here to build so-called generative AI vectors, so that you can traverse and use generative AI inside of the database. If they get this right, I mean, they might have given the Oracle database products another 20 years lifespan, right? Because we know AI is going to be here for stay. And the combination of transactional information, right? The cherished MDM, data quality, transactional data, which every enterprise runs on, right? But at the end of the day, it's all transactions. If something matters, when you start working, what you're making, what did you order, since when are you a customer, where did you purchase, when did you manufacture, it's all in transactions. Right, and this could not be addressed by large language models right now. Right. And there's actually a race on how to figure that out best, which will be probably a separate video and so on. But very good from that side. Good innovation on the ERP, overall HCM side. On HCM, close and near to my heart, new workforce management capabilities, targeting, of course, the 30 plus billion. We talk about 30 plus billion acquisitions in the moment in the industry, right? Last year it was Oracle buying Cerner. So obviously there's a big focus on the healthcare side to automate that. But interesting enough, retail customers, it's built generically, might be going live before the healthcare customers. Yeah. And the other key interesting takeaways, like Larry, huge fan of Apex. It's low code in the database running development language. All the healthcare apps are going to be built on that. And by the way, if you want to see what's so far, and by the way, Ray and me agree, which rarely happens, right?
What?
Yes, shockingly.
No, right? I don't believe it. That's a whole news segment in and of itself.
Yeah, we have to edit this out. No, but I'm going to throw Ray under the bus that he said it and I said this was the best AI keynote. Of course, keep in mind, Larry Ellison, 79-year-old, having fun on stage. He's not like the best presenter, but from a vision perspective, not to talk about like AI in the products, but talking about AI affecting healthcare, him sharing his personal healthcare history. If you want to know which statin he's on, look at the replay of the keynote. I'm not going to talk about hyper-sensitive information here. To how to build hydroponic agricultural solutions, how to build. Oracle has a police truck coming out or running right now already in Stanislaus County. So from overall holistic impact of AI, including legislation, so far the best keynote of the year on that topic. So if you look for it, look for the replay.
What I thought was really interesting was, at least from a CX perspective, someone asked me as CloudWorld was happening if I thought that the features and functions that were kind of focused on the CX suite, kind of the fusion suite of sales, service, and marketing, if those features and functions were new, or were they somehow kind of different from what has already been introduced in the market by other players like Oracle. And the reality is that no, that there wasn't. And I got a lot of flack from that. People were like, oh my God. And I'm like, I'm sorry. Call summaries is not new. The function and the feature was not new. So could I sit there and look at Fusion Sales and be like, wow, it's so completely different from what everyone else is offering? No, I couldn't. They're very much on pace and are on par where really the top vendors are. And congratulations to them. What the big announcement was, and I think what folks would be remiss in not realizing here, is that it wasn't about the features and the functions, and it shouldn't be. It was really about the infrastructure that makes all of those operations faster, right? It's about OCI, it's about NVIDIA, it's about, it's about the partners that they've brought to the table. This is an organization that didn't just spend the last year trying to build their own large language model. Right. Instead, they went and put the infrastructure in place where the partners that they utilize for their large language models work faster and more efficiently. So you're not going to see this oversized balloon of compute costs because they don't have highly efficient compute running all of this AI. Oracle has really taken that on head on. And I really appreciate that, because I think that we're getting to a tipping point where kind of AI powered function, and we're going to hit fatigue on, AI is going to do all this stuff for us. It's great. Yes, AI can do all that stuff for us. But if it can't actually operate, if it doesn't actually have the infrastructure and the underpinning to allow that to move quickly and at a speed efficiency and a cost efficiency, I don't care what it can do. It's just not going to get me there.
Absolutely right. So Oracle, right? Oracle is the only large enterprise applications vendors, right? Microsoft is the other applications vendors, but they struggle a little with Dynamics to go to large enterprise. Who runs their own cloud, right? And what could happen with that would be happening. Right. Which mentioned Microsoft, right? The big partnership, right? Larry and Satya together. The first time before, Oracle's pushing their Exadata machines inside of the Azure system, not through the interconnect, to be even faster. Why? Because the generative AI, every millisecond counts with expensive NVIDIA GPUs, right, where the smallest shot is a 30K experiment. So they want to be really close to that. So for the first time, Larry Ellison giddy and happy to be in Redmond for the first time in his life at 79, right? And then partnering on all levels, right? Judson Althoff on stage with Gary McGurrick talking about OCI things, Corey Sanders talking to Karan on the specific things in the analyst Q&A. So, and it's actually hard for AWS and Google as the newer kids on the block who don't know the enterprise so well, that the two enterprise cloud guys are kind of like saying, hey, we get this. We team up for this, right? Now you can use Azure credits and Oracle credits, bring your own license and run the Oracle database inside of Azure. So something which would be Azure Foods a few years ago.
I thought that the interesting thing also from last week, when Oracle, you got Cloud World happening, and then Satya, speaking of Microsoft, then pops up in New York and is like, and oh, by the way, Copilot's everywhere, right? So it was kind of, how do we take the Copilot story and the AI story and lift it out of that enterprise only, B2B, business only story, and how do we show how Copilot is going to be everywhere? While I don't necessarily think the return of Clippy is going to be like huge news, although I think it's exceptional. I want Clippy back so badly. But with these Copilots all the way through your Office 365 solutions, everywhere, going from end to end, your business applications to those at-home consumer applications, it's not so much that it's doing it in the application, it's setting expectations for your average consumer that Copilots and AI should be there to be everyone's Copilot in whatever they are looking to achieve, whether it's their kids' homework or whether it's something that's happening at work. You're seeing this end-to-end kind of like life to business continuum with AI coming together. So as people are now developing AI and they're developing where their version of a Copilot is going to exist, they have to understand that this announcement from Satya and where they are putting this and where Microsoft is going with their Copilot solutions, it's going to change the mindset and the expectation of every user, not just establishing a baseline for a business user. And that was the big shift this week, right? So Oracle's making this fast, but guess what? Consumers are going to have expectations that are faster. So it puts a whole lot of added pressure on pretty much every single one of us to actually have an AI strategy. How is it helping our people? How is it helping our customers? And how is it actually meaningful for the profitability of our business? It's not just a fun toy anymore.
Exactly. Yeah. And let's keep in mind, you didn't mention it, right? It's also going to be in Windows, 800 million Windows users, right? So it's going to be even more comfortable way everywhere, and great responsibility for Microsoft to get it right? Because if it's going to be wrong, like some previous search and other things which shall not be mentioned, right? No value added, then people go again, right? So we can figure out so greatly, so fast, no matter in a private or in a consumer business setting, if AI is adding value for that, right? Which leads me to the quick sidestep, right? The head of Windows, Panos Panay, resigned last week. Unfortunate, right? Trouble guy, but it's my biggest beef with Microsoft that Windows is basically rudderless since Terry Myerson left, right? So I wrote a blog post critical of Satya Nadella on this, and I have no idea why that isn't. The reason why it was a Satya Nadella show is simply because there's no head of Windows anymore.
There was no,
now there's a gentleman in marketing, I even forgot his name, in charge, but only parts of it, right? So now it's going to be fragmented, not even under one leadership. I don't get this. If I have 5 minutes of Satya, I would like to understand his thoughts and strategy there, because Microsoft has a deep enough bench, could hire anybody. I mean, I know a lot of executives who would love to run Windows, and it needs vision. And lots of people, 800 million users, you don't leave that rudderless for 5-6 years. I don't get it.
Hey, listen, talk about a deep bench. I mean, you said it at the very beginning of the year. I'm going to go back a week because you and I didn't get a chance to talk about Dreamforce, right? You talked about it at the beginning of the year when everyone was like, oh no, activist investors, it's the end of Salesforce. Everyone was freaking out, but you were very clear in what you thought. Your prediction then was, no, this is going to force Salesforce into really focusing and bringing a whole lot of rigor. And I got to tell you, Dreamforce was definitely a proof that Holger was right.
No, it's not about that, but I've seen it in many industries, right? A little bit of activist investor in the right dose is actually healthy for a software company to help with focus, to help with spending. And I mean, you saw it first time, right? Salesforce came late of booking us, so I only had Wednesday and one night, and they said, no, you don't have to come. I said, fine, I don't have to come. It's all good, right? So I fight people out. No, I'm fine with that, right? Because there was also not much news, and all the news, the big news they put in front was on the platform side. So when you do that,
well, yeah, I will say that the news that came out of Dreamforce, and we've covered this before in a video that we've got with Doug.
Check out the highlight with Doug.
The news there was really about turning Einstein into a platform instead of just having Einstein is a platform now. So so I think that was the news. But what I think is interesting, and the thing that I would tell people to keep your eyes open when it comes to Salesforce is Dreamforce was just kind of the line in the sand for this year. What's happened since Dreamforce? I mean, we're only a week out and they already just announced. I mean, they're saying, listen, all of our AI, it's going to plug in. We're going to make this easy for admins. We're going to make this easy for organizations to take advantage of AI. And first news out of the gate right after Dreamforce is a pickup of a little company called AirKit. So AirKit.ai, low code, code-free AI agents for chatbots. They've been doing a very nice job in the contact center and the support space for bringing in these really easy to build and configure AI chatbots. I think that we're going to start to see that certainly emerge across Service Cloud. But what I'm really excited to see is what that can actually bring from a process perspective and an out-of-the-box capability to build these bots that can be deployed across the enterprise, even for employee engagement. Right. How do employees ask questions like, where the heck is my insurance, right? So how do we start to build those bots in a way that's helpful both within our organization and external? But a lot of news to have covered. I think we're even going over in our segment. Thank goodness we don't have the FTC coming after us, or the SEC.
Quickly, right? When major vendors like Salesforce are all our platforms, they're building on them already, right? So the next generation CRM, which I've been waiting for Salesforce since 10 plus years, since I'm an analyst, is saying, look, you're the market category leader. You have to have the vision and the leadership to move there. Last year, check out the report. They put the foundation in there with Genie now woven, so you can move everything on Salesforce in the cloud. Yep. And then the cloud is where AI lives, and the cloud is where their big data lake or the lake house lives. So everything is there. So all eyes on what David Schmeier is doing, right? Building the next generation of sales, marketing,
without question,
right? Which hopefully is going to be all of Dreamforce 2024, or maybe even previews earlier if they're building stuff.
You're going to see it earlier. I think a lot of the work that David's doing and David's team is doing, I think we're going to see the output of that much earlier. I would say my guess would be in that February launch time period where they've got a lot of the things that are going into beta in October, launching in February. That's usually around the Trailhead DX connections time period. So I think we're going to start to see a lot of news come out from that. What I will say is look for the re-architecture and look for the kind of the consolidation of a lot of things, whether it is marketing, Steve Hammond now at the top of that cloud, really looking at how they're going to re-platform marketing as a shared service, which I'm super excited to see. I think you're seeing some really great moves out of Data Cloud as well. So I'm seeing a lot of positive movement there. I mean, I think Salesforce is really committed to becoming that next generation of itself, which is what I think a lot of us have been waiting to see, which is really exciting. And, I think that... Listen, the reality is a lot of people want to count out Salesforce because they're they are the giant in the room. But I think that while that's happening, I think that they got caught up in a lot of the hype cycle for that. The activist investors came in, and Mark very quickly, I mean, you want to talk about, there are a lot of things you can say about Mark Badjatia, but he saw that threat and was like, no, and just locked it down. So with that, I think we got to go.
The rule is, and we just saw the turnaround with Oracle, right, which was long pronounced dead by many people, right? As long as you keep your customers and your customers aren't going, you have time to get it right. And Salesforce is the perfect story of that, right? Nobody's taking Salesforce customers away. It would be good to see some more CRM competition, innovation, right? But as long as they keep their customers, they have time to get it right. And hopefully for the whole market and their customers, they're getting it right now. But we cannot leave without one quick word on future of work, right? Last week was also ADP's Analyst Summit, always in the Innovation Lab in in Soho. I think it's Soho, somewhere downtown Manhattan, right? And they're just one big takeaway, right? The company which pays 6 people in North America, their next generation payroll is finally getting off in flight, right? They have 4,000 customers, and super interesting because it's an on-demand payroll. It's not like boil the ocean, start the engines, we're going to run payroll, but every payroll relevant event, somebody clocks in, clocks out, takes a vacation, works now overtime, is right away calculating that payroll. Super interesting that consumes less cloud resources than that. And it's all rule-based, right? And it's running in 6 or 9 countries right now. And turns out there's only so many ways how to skin a cat or go from gross to net on a paycheck. So the number of rules, right, was not inflationary in the hundreds, but it's in the 20s or 30s by now, which is very encouraging to see a better, brighter future for something which we all care about because we all need to get paid, right? Lots of people work to live, to get our paychecks right in a more modern way.
Well, we're officially getting the hook on the news segment, Holger. That does it for this time. But listen, we got a couple cool segments coming up. I had an opportunity to speak with our friend Nitin over at SAP, so that's coming up. I think we're also going to get a chance to grill the new guy. It's time to haze the new guy on CRTV, at least for us. Larry Dignan is going to be coming up with a Salon 50. We're going to get to know him a little bit more. So stick around, everyone. Hey everyone, Liz Mueller with Constellation Research. I am back for another CX Convo. You guys know that I love having these, and more to the point, I love having them with smart people who not only know CX, but know their stuff in technology. And today, I'm joined by SAP's very own guru of CX solutions. Is that the right title, Nitin? Is that what we're going with now? Guru of CX?
That's a bit aspirational, but
man,
since Liz, you've endorsed me on that, I'll take it.
We're just gonna go with it. We're gonna go with it. Listen, the reason why I was really excited to have this conversation with you is that you and I have been around this big amorphous bubble called CX. I feel like we now need like an echo machine that goes after that, like CX.
Into the metaverse.
Yeah, into the metaverse. Like let's go with strategy and tools, and it's all this stuff. And and we've now hit the stage where we are seeing a whole lot of chaos in this space because we've got this kind of traditional mindset of like, we've got campaigns, we're going to go and execute all these things. We've got numbers and operations and automations that we've got this old school reality of how our businesses grow and how our businesses engage with our customers. And then we have this whole new set of expectations that are being driven by our customers and from our customers of like, I don't want to do that. I want to self-serve. I want to be able to call you in the middle of the night. I don't ever want to talk to a sales rep. I want to do this. I want to build it my own, right? I want to configure everything at the middle of the night. And then tomorrow morning, you're going to say, of course I can buy that. So we're in this crazy space. And there are a lot of people getting into this space. There are even more people getting out of this space. And you and I have been able to talk about this before. But SAP, 50 years, understands data probably better. Data to the very foundation of how it is organized. Knows data probably better than anyone else out there. Yet when it comes to CX, there's been a little bit of a bumpy journey. I don't want to candy coat this. I don't know how to say it any better. But, it kind of started as like a couple tools that could help your customers. Certainly started as CRM, which is a great place to start. But it has evolved. The platform evolved. The platform evolved through acquisition and some really smart acquisitions. But there's also a lot of rumor out there. There's a lot of misperceptions around, they've walked away from the portfolio. There's no more CX. They've done this. They've done that. So I wanted to do this. I was so glad that you agreed to join me here in the hot seat, because I want to take a few minutes to let's just address that stuff head on if you're up for it. So I'm just going to jump into the deep end of the pool. Not everyone, when they think of customer experience delivery and customer experience strategy, necessarily knows to think of SAP. I think large enterprises think of SAP for a lot of other things that are mission critical to their businesses. But CX might not be one of those things that is yet implanted in people's mind. So let's start with a totally blank page. So if you were to outline to me, what is CX at SAP today? Who is SAP CX? What is it? What are you guys delivering? How should I think of you?
So I think it's a great question. And, for me, I've just crossed my 2-year anniversary here. And,
nice.
Arriving 2 years ago, I had a bit of a sense that SAP's CRM to CX journey was uneven. when I got here, what I saw, I felt like a kid in a candy store. I said, we're here to complete the sentence. Yeah, we're here to complete the sentence. The fact is that, for 50 years, SAP has marched on what I would refer to as Peter Drucker's, definition of the sole purpose of an organization to create the customer. And then we later modified it and said, well, it's create and keep a customer. Well, the create and keep part are the end extensions of an organization. And SAP has diligently been building through CRM and through the eras of CX, through acquisition, but also internally, all of the components that make that work. I think that at times we've struggled to articulate that to the market, but we are definitely an integral part of the SAP portfolio, the future. And we actually think about it bigger than the way that the world of CX is perceived. It's, as Liz, as you know, my foundational background is customer service, right? I really care about that. And my standard conversation there is that, customer service is no longer an activity confined to a department. And if you think about that, that requires you to think beyond CRM, which I refer to as customer records management. It's an activity login, it's a concept.
Yes.
It's not work getting done. And really thinking about how the work gets done so that customer gets the value that they expect at the point of experience, right? And so our approach to CX has been that. It's been to complete the sentence. It's about making sure that the value is provided to the customer at the point of need as efficiently, effectively, and profitably as possible. And I think, as we've talked about before, right, this notion that each one of those interactions is a point of co-creation, right? It's a point of co-value creation.
Yes.
Customers walk away receiving either support or additional renewal, replenishment, whatnot. Organizations get intelligence from it, and for us sitting in the broad SAP portfolio, we have the right to drive what I would call contextual interactions, because more often than not, whatever a customer issue or exception arises at a point of experience, we have the source. We have the source data, but it's not just the data. Where the source data was created and the process it was created, and in other words, we can drive greater context at the point of experience than just about anybody else natively.
I love that's such an important point, because I think it's a point that gets overlooked a lot, right? Because you have the data that can solve the actual problem, not the issue at hand. And I think in a lot of service engagements, we tend to focus in on the service at hand, usually being that person just rage screamed agent into my phone call, right? Like that person sitting there so frustrated with an operational process that we stuck in front of them, that we're neither delivering value nor are we solving the real problem. So I love that it's that bigger mindset. I mean, but like, okay, let's also tackle this one. I'm just gonna grab this bull by the horns. Microservices. Like I think listen, a lot of people will talk about it like it's this like amazing, like, oh my God, it's gonna solve all the problems. And yes, I mean, scale. You could talk about resilience. You could talk about like the accelerated time to market, accelerated time to value. You're constantly delivering. You're constantly innovating. And then, then there's the other side of microservices that people tend to not want to talk about, which is, they're not exactly, a microservices environment isn't exactly cheap upfront, right? So you've got a lot of upfront costs. You have a lot of complexity, or you could have a lot of complexity. I think that when you walk into it with an intentional strategy, it's a very different conversation. But I think that there are a lot of IT organizations out there that are grappling with CX, that have been burned in the initial early days of microservices without durability of strategy, right? Like we just let's let the devs do whatever they want, right? Like, all of a sudden you're like, I have no orchestration of any of these layers. So like, there are a lot of these amazing benefits of it, but how have you guys been able to kind of keep some of the concerns about the pitfalls that I think as an industry, a lot of folks in technology are really beginning to want to tackle? How have you kept some of those pitfalls at bay?
So I think, I don't know if you had a chance to read the article that that the Amazon AWS team wrote. I forget which one of their big services where they actually reverted back from microservices to more monolithic architecture. And one of the great thinkers in our space, David Heinemeier Hansen, said, "Hey, guess what? Be careful." I read it and I was like, yeah, that's a very good caution, point of caution.
Caution, yeah.
Here's the thing: microservices are important because of what they provide, which is stability and speed. I think it's still ultimately the one thing that the microservice concept does is it removes business logic from the data architecture, because that's classic CRM.
Yes,
right?
yes.
And it frees up those systems to do what they do. They capture information. And it pushes business logic to the execution layer. So, and as SAP, our expertise is at the business logic process execution. That's what we're delivering. What we're delivering that on a hyperscaler, hyper-performant, underneath layer. By the way, those are now accessible because they're not woven together with inner joins and outer joins that you won't understand.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And you're free to go after them. And we've built around that, our SAP Build low-code, no-code technologies, so you can go access them if you want to. But we still have applications, and people still are going to consume for the foreseeable future, a sales cloud, a service cloud. But because we're building for the next iteration, the next generation, having that infrastructure gives us the flexibility now to tune in a specific sales cloud for, let's say, consumer products, and it's not repainting the house. It's actually something different, right?
Yeah, I love that. I love that.
That's where we're headed, right?
Good. So good, Nitin. Thanks for spending all this time with me, man. It's been great talking to you, and thanks so much for giving me the backstory. I really appreciate it. It's been another CRCX Convos. To tune back. This is going to be part of a series, so keep coming back for more, everyone.
Thank you.
Hello everybody, it's Holger Mueller here with Liz Miller doing one of our fun activity, which is hazing our new colleagues at Constellation Research. Welcome, Larry.
Now
Hey.
you can say hi, Larry. There you go.
Yeah, hi,
I'm scared.
Sorry, hi, Larry is the way how to get him go. Look, he's already so nervous, he's not answering. I'm not sure if our last colleague we hazed, Andy Thurai, has recovered from it yet.
I don't think so.
I think the scars are healing, right? So Larry, are you ready for the fastest 5 minutes in enterprise software?
The fastest 5 minutes, the last 10 minutes, Larry. It's going to be great. Pick a question, dude. You're in the salon.
Exactly.
All right. What was your first job that started your career?
Who are you asking?
What are you asking?
Liz.
Ooh, okay. First job that started my career, I was doing public relations and communications for the Continental Indoor Soccer League. And I got to follow a bunch of guys in shorts around playing indoor soccer, and it was awesome. Although I did have to look at a lot of score sheets. I never thought it was the part of my career that taught me that I really should have paid more attention in statistics.
Doesn't it suck to have the dream job as the first job in your career and then only
No, it doesn't. It doesn't. This is the dream job, Holger.
All right,
Live the dream. It's Constellation, dude. Come on.
Wouldn't it suck a lot more to have 5 people show up in the stands?
Well, no, but we had a lot of people. But here's the good thing.
5 soccer leagues.
Larry, the king of sarcasm. The league that I worked for was actually owned by NBA and NHL owners, and they were trying to find something they could fill their stadiums with in the summertime. And they already had their hockey dasher boards. They just dropped down some AstroTurf. So the reality is if 100 people showed up, they were like, "There's this filled. We got F&B, we got T-shirts, we're good to go." So it was like you got to do what you got to do. Okay, Larry, what's your biggest regret?
Not going into the military.
Really?
Really. I don't have a ton of regrets, but that's one of them. Oddly, I don't know why. Maybe it's because I kind of had a dream of being, going to an academy or something, but I was too imperfect for that. Too short, ACL, too slow.
So if you could do it again, which branch would you go into? Where would you have gone?
Probably Air Force.
No, they're not serious military. Come on.
Well, that's the Coast Guard, Holger.
This was like right after Top Gun, so kind of.
Oh yeah, there you go. Now I get it.
Yeah, there was a little interest in the Navy, but then the Navy was like, "Oh, we want to put you on a nuclear sub," and I'm kind of like a tin can underwater, no sun.
But Larry, that's the same thing like going to a conference now.
It is.
Windowless room, air-conditioned room, maybe a little more room. You got your own bunk, fine.
Guys.
Certainly no sunlight. Yeah, about the same.
Okay, Larry, you got to pick one for Holger now.
What's the worst advice you've ever received?
You try to forget that, right? So, well, the worst advice has really been focus on finance. You always will find a job when you're in finance, but nobody told me, and this probably might be right, but nobody told me it's boring. So I can't do that, right? So yeah, that was probably the worst advice, right? Finance, you'll always have a job, right? Now it's kind of funny, like I talk to HR people, because if you do HR, you always have a job too if you're decent at least, right? So, all right, that was the which category, Larry?
Wisdom.
That was
Wisdom. So I'm asking you back here. What is your wish for the future?
My future or the future?
We are open here. Like, let's talk about Larry's future. This is to get to know you, right? So,
I think the wish. Well, I will have a wish for me and the rest of the world that we nail down teleportation.
Yeah. How could they figure that out and start?
I don't know what's going to happen when they put the molecules together, but could you imagine life if we just could teleport places?
Yes. We would be all in one room in front of one camera.
Can you imagine how many places Ray would be in a day?
Yeah,
it'd be insane.
There must be a limit on teleportation.
Yeah, there would have to be a limit on how many times you could put that back together.
But just to be able to pop in on a beach in Australia or wherever and
where's
not have to sit in a little foldy chair for 16 hours. Yeah, that would be delightful.
That would be the bomb. So that's my wish for the future.
Yeah,
and from what I can tell, we're nowhere near any of that. So
nowhere near it. Okay, next category, new question, Larry. You pick.
What was that? Wisdom?
Yeah, that was wisdom.
Yep.
Let's see. I will ask Holger, where and when are you happiest? Because you're kind of grumpy a lot.
I'm grumpy. Don't misunderstand my German accent as being total grumpiness, right?
He's not grumpy. He's aggressively helpful, Larry.
Yeah, exactly. I'm just being German, right? So that's not grumpy. It both starts with G. That's the only similarity of that. Most happy is probably with nice weather, with good wind, on a nice sailing boat, steering really, really fast. That definitely.
Okay, Doug Henshin.
Makes me totally happy. Yeah. Don't rub it in. I'm so overdue to Sail of Doug. It's tragic that we have not made any progress on this. Inclement conference schedule, not enough time in New York, limited sailing time in New York in this boat. So yeah, I've seriously boat envy on Doug. On the flip side, I'm pretty happy I don't have a boat on my thing and can just rent what I want. So, but don't tell him that, right? So, okay, that was which category, Larry?
That was personal.
Personal. So going back to you with what? Right, I love to ask this to journalists like you, right? What word do you overuse?
Do I overuse?
Yes. Cloud is not allowed, AI is not allowed. We're talking about general words, right? Like I tend to say like or right in my videos. I hate me for that. So
it has to be fuck.
Beep. How about we have to beep?
It has to be. It just has to be.
I've never.
Oh my God! This isn't a kid show.
I notice it like when my almost 21-year-old will drop it a lot. So she drops it a lot, and I'm kind of like, where do you get that? It sounds so abrasive. And then I'm kind of like, it's probably me. I don't know. So.
Oh my God.
It's a word I could probably dial back, but it's really fucking hard.
Oh, God. Beep. Okay. Last category. You're in so much trouble with Hannah. It's delicious. Okay. Last category, Larry. You pick.
Let's see.
It's 5 categories. Let's get 2 more questions, just for the record.
We also have very few. There's the thing called time, Holger.
Yeah, fast.
All right, time. All right, Liz, what's your most treasured possession?
My most treasured possession is a set of Korean wedding dolls that my grandfather sent to my mother after she got married to my dad. And it's the reason why it's so special to me is that when my mom, a woman who was here from Korea, expected to go back to Korea to marry a nice Korean boy, in her father's mind, met a 6'4", Irish. He thought he was German. Turns out he's Dutch guy, mostly Irish though. Meets that guy and decides to stay in the States. The fact that we weren't sure my grandfather was going to be super excited about that. And so when he sent those dolls in the late 60s. That was a pretty meaningful moment. So yeah, I'll cart those around forever.
Great answer.
Very good.
Hey, Larry, thanks for coming in and letting us haze you for a little bit. I mean, you've been here for several months, but this was the first time we were able to pick on you. Exactly. But thanks for coming in the salon, man. And that brings us to the end of episode 66, Holger. We did it. We made it. We didn't lose anyone along the way. Thanks for watching, everyone. Next up is going to be episode 67 with your pals, Doug Henshin and Diane Hinchcliffe. We got a ton of stuff coming up, but listen, as we head into episode 68, we also got to tell you, keep your eye open for when all of us in the clown car stop by at Nothing beats a stop at CCE. That's right. Constellation is going to be getting together in our typical haunt, the Ritz at Half Moon Bay, and we're going to be coming to you live with some updates and things like that. So keep your eyes open for that at the end of October. But until then, we'll see you next time.
All right, it's hair time. Hannah, you have to put your hair up too. We have to have some simplicity here.
Right. Okay, everybody. And then we twirl, and then we loop.
It's Friday.
And then we cut.
Who's first?
Hang on. Oh, here we go. Whoop. Yeah. There that goes. And yeah.
Yeah.
I don't have a hair tie, so I'm tucking it.
You're fucking roll. Oh, look at that.
Bro, it's fine. I don't have
That's totally making bloopers. But now we know what the entire blooper reel is going to be this week. It's going to be hair race by Constellation. So here's the funniest thing that I've received from a conference in quite some time. Right? User testing gave out. It's like a sock, but you put it around your beverage.
Yep.
Right? It like keeps the coffee warm. It's like the coffee warmer, but it's like a sock. It's literally like the top of a compression sock.
That's hilarious.
And I was like, I must have one. Like this is the first time in a very long time. I was like, I've got to have that swag. It's like I was like, oh. Now no one knows if this is a Heineken.
or Sprite, right? So.
Oh my God, Holger, we need an Astro chart on conference giveaways.
Yeah,
since we can't do a wave, we have to do an Astro chart on conference.
We should do an Astro chart on conference giveaways.
Yes.
And your bottle sleeve is right at the beginning of the hype cycle.
I mean, it is clearly like top left, right? Like niche coming in. Like here we go.
Coming in hard, right? So
coming in hot.
If it's featured on ConstellationTV, it must be hot, right? So
well, duh.
So true.
But then here's the thing. These, the power bank that only charges your phone like 20%, and then takes an hour to charge itself. Don't do this to me. Liz. Like people are like, oh well, don't you want a power bank, Liz? It's so cool. I'm like, okay, let's. Here's my power bank that I carry with me. It gives my phone 3 full charges. It has literally every cable you'll ever want in humanity tucked right into it. But wait now, hold please. Oh, it plugs into the wall, people. I don't have to carry an extra cable.
No cables. Oh my God.
No cables for this bad boy, but it goes into everything. Oh, it even has a little USB. So then there's this guy. This guy's also by my desk.
What is that?
A voodoo doll. This is a voodoo doll from Haiti, from Port-au-Prince. It is a authentic ceremonial voodoo doll. Anatomically correct, I might also indicate. These are just the things that are on my desk. We're going to have a whole CRTV segment called What's on Liz's Desk, and it's going to be things like this.
Yeah, we're gonna no pictures of us, no video of us, but videos of our desk while recording.
Stuff on our desk. Yep. Telling you. Because I almost killed myself on the Peloton. Right? And so I would do my Soul Cycle ride on the Peloton. Right? And the problem with that...
That's kind of like running SAP inside of Oracle or like Microsoft.
Well, yeah, exactly. So imagine...
It's like the ultimate tech nerd.
This is like putting Oracle database in Azure. Running a Peloton from iPad, running a Soul Cycle platform.
It's like then and then sticking something in a container that supposedly runs something, right? Like, so yeah, I did all of that in one thing, like literally had it hanging off the screen. And so the problem being is that the Peloton, of course, is built differently than the SoulCycle bike. The SoulCycle bike is built specifically for all the crazy movements and for the back and forth, and like its center of gravity is slightly different so that you can do all of the, you know, the hair bang, like all the crazy stuff that SoulCycle does in its hairography and all that, because hairography is a thing. Anyone who is a SoulCycle fan understands this.
Yeah.
But on Peloton, it is not so much a thing. So when you're riding on a Peloton ride, you've got this nice sturdy ride. Your center of gravity is exactly where your body is supposed to be. Same thing for SoulCycle. Those two things do not mix. So yes, like you're not running S4HANA on like, it's just the things, right? So one day I'm going along to a ride and they have us doing tap backs, a lot of tap backs, and I tap back and I go back and the whole bike comes with me. I'm there, and where the bike used to be, I was kind of fairly close to a wall, and so I'm tapping back. I'm like, yeah, I'm getting into it. I'm into my world, and I end up with the Peloton bike, and my whole body is wedged up against the wall. Yeah. And so had that wall not been there, it would have been me with a broken neck and my Peloton on top of me. Like the iPad went over the railing and like down the stairs. It was a whole thing. And Scott comes up and he's like, so are you just going to get the SoulCycle bike now? Like literally as I'm there hanging off the bike.
All right.
Fast and efficient this was.
An hour 12 later.
Well, Hannah's like, I get none of that hour back.
Yeah.
An hour of my life that's just fucking gone.
There's bloopers for the rest of the year.
And you have bloopers for the rest of the year. So we don't even have to show up. Yeah. Since, yeah.
Don't even try to be funny, Doug and Diane. We have enough fun. Listen.
Yeah, can you imagine? Don't even try to have personalities, you two.
Yeah, don't waste time.
I'm really not.
Get Larry. Where the hell's Larry? Dignan.
Okay, let me.
Calling Larry. Larry to the soundstage. Larry, please report to stage. Yeah, Hannah's gonna have to figure out how to put like a little bomb over your mouth.
Yeah.
Oh, you guys are punchy today. Let me tell you.
Punchy today. Shit, we're punchy every single damn episode.